Welcome everyone to Extra Reels, kind of. This is usually a Patreon or YouTube member show, and usually we talk about a very, very, very bad movie, but today's a little bit different. That said though, just in case you are new to us, I'm Peter, and joining me is David.
It's so weird we have to introduce ourselves on this show.
Yeah, normally I don't bother on Extra Reels because it's all patrons and whatnot, so they know who we are. But what we're doing today, this is part of the 10th anniversary of Male Fuzz celebrations, everyone. Rejoice. But we realised, somewhat recently, that we were coming up on episode 32 of Extra Reels. Now, episode 32 was July's episode, just there. It's a monthly show we do, if you don't know what this is. Extra Reels is a show in which we, once a month, review a terrible movie. Hopefully it's so bad it's good, but that doesn't always turn out to be the case. But we have done 32 of them. Today, we have to decide on the king of these bad movies, tournament style.
Oh, man.
We've got 32 movies. We have 16 matches in round one. We're going to debate each match, decide which one is the victor. And then we'll do the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and obviously the finals at the very end. And there'll be a victor. Yes. Now, what defines what's better out of these movies? Who the hell knows? That's something we're going to have to figure out as we're debating it. So that's part of the fun. This is not a Patreon thing. This is a celebration thing, and also acts as kind of a nice, like, hey, if you haven't seen our show that we do on Patreon before, this is a nice little taster of like all the movies we've talked about. So hopefully you enjoy this barrage of awfulness. And some of these are famous bad movies, especially if you watch other shows about bad movies, you've probably heard of at least half of them. But some of them are more unique and weird, which probably came from Tara because she finds the weirdest, worst shit. So welcome everyone.
I will say, there was one episode which was publicly available, I believe. I think that was Solar Crisis. So you can get a taster from this, and if you're even more interested, you can get a free sample as well.
Quite right. In fact, there's going to be a 3-episode this month as well, coming up. So you can look forward to that. So, I suppose, just to explain, 32 movies. They're not in any particular order. In fact, I had the tournament website I'm using randomize the seed, meaning that all of the versus matchups that we're about to do are completely random. And admittedly, I don't think it matters too much for this particular tournament. I think for any other tournaments we might do on the channel at some point, it'll be good for randomization just purely because, you can't put up like a movie you know is going to lose against another movie. That kind of thing. For this one, it probably doesn't matter as much, but still, it's kind of fun seeing what ends up with what. And because of that, I'm not going to put the tournament bracket on the screen for the entirety of round one, because I don't want David to know what the upcoming matches are, and it may as well be a surprise for you guys as well. So... Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, are you able to see the titles of the extra reels without being subscribed to the Patreon? Because if somebody's not, they have no idea what movies we've actually done on this show.
I mean, if they really want to look, they can see the titles, yes. They can click on the collections tab on Patreon, but...
Fair enough.
I mean...
that sounds cheaty.
I'm not worried. I think they'll follow along just fine without knowing all the movies in advance.
Probably,
so, I don't know how long this is going to take, so we should probably just dive into it.
All right, I'm going to make a little side bet, a little side prediction here. Over 2 hours.
That's conservative. I was thinking like 3.5.
Oh my God. I don't have that kind of time, Pete. I have things to do.
Tough. We're in. There's no leaving now. We're locked in.
All right. I wish I used the bathroom. All right, let's do this.
But buckle up. It's time. All right. Match number 1, everyone. Let's do it. Up first.
All right.
I Am Here Now versus Miami Connection.
Oh, man, that's already a tough one off the bat. Neil Breen, right in immediately.
Neil Breen versus our very first episode, Miami Connection. Now, it may be tough to summarize plots to these movies because, let's face it, they don't all have the most memorable plots. But Miami Connection is about a rock band who are also martial artists who there's also a missing father. There's a whole thing going on, but but it's a pretty delightful bad movie. It's pretty fun to watch. It's a very much like get your friends around. You can laugh at the absurdity, the silly fight scenes, the weird awkward dialogue, all the usual things. I Am Here Now is one of Neil Breen's oeuvre, and he is a master of the terrible no money movie where there's awkward long pauses, there's bad green screen, there's lots of just really shoddy writing where he talks about himself because he's in the movies, he directs it, he writes it, he stars in it, and he always plays the most important being in the universe. You might say Neil Breen's got a bit of a god complex. In fact, in I Am Here Now, he's technically a robot Jesus, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, pretty much. It's here. I'll give the one sentence IMDb for each.
Please.
So I Am Here Now is disappointed by its creation. The almighty being that created man arrives on Earth in a human form and interacts with various troubled, wicked, and sinful people on his journey to Vegas. And then Miami Connection is a martial arts rock band goes up against a band of motorcycle ninjas who have tightened their grip on Florida's narcotics trade.
Do you know what I'll say for I Am Here Now that's maybe not going to win at points? Is that I'm having a little trouble differentiating it in my head from the other Neil Breen movies. Like, I'm not entirely sure which... Like, when I'm thinking of specific scenes, I'm like, oh, that could have been this one, but it also could have been that one. And it's not as obvious to me for this one.
I specifically remember I Am Here Now because it was the one that I was surprised had, like, the large enough cast, and it was the one with the trash bag room. The one with the black room that's just all trash bags up on the wall.
I do not remember that, but yes, go on.
Yeah, I don't know. That one, I remember I Am Here Now is, strangely enough, being the most out there Neil Breen film. Like, don't get me wrong, all of his movies are out there, but I Am Here Now was the one that it felt like there was a lot more leaning on this sci-fi slant than the other ones, which just felt like you said, he's essentially just Jesus coming in as in solid man form and like getting rid of corruption and whatnot.
But he's literally Jesus in this one.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Although there's one where he's a singularity, and that's different.
That's
he's a singularity
yes.
from the future. So I get what you're saying, but I think that this one does stand out even amongst the Neil Breen films as especially crazy.
I don't know. Miami Connection's a lot of fun, though, is the thing. It
is.
I think I enjoyed watching Miami Connection more than I Am Here Now.
I will give Miami Connection points that even now I still think back to its soundtrack and like how they had those songs like written
Fight
for the
Ninja.
movie. Yeah, exactly.
They sang that a lot. Plus, Miami Connection had the title card at the end, which may be one of the funniest moments that we've ever done from any movie on this show. So
we brought that up for months following of how the only way to defeat violence is through peace or whatever.
Yeah, after a movie that's been nothing but martial arts and gunfights. Yeah, I think my thing here is I think Miami Connection is a really solid one that I expect to go further. And I Am Here Now, well, it is Neil Breen. Right. There's a lot of other Neil Breen that's going to be in this tournament, and I almost like feel like I want to sacrifice this one for Miami Connection because he's got 3 other movies in this tournament, and I think
I mean,
that, you know, I'm playing the I don't know, the logic game here. Okay, I'm playing the logic game here.
I get what you're saying. But I think out of any Neil Breen film, this would be the one that I would expect to actually go the furthest out of them. Everyone, you say how they all blend together. I feel like I don't remember any of the other ones any more than. Oh wait, no, Magic Rock one. Magic Rock one was pretty good too. All right, I'll concede. I think that Miami Connection, it is just more fun. I will wholly agree with that. And at the very least, Neil Breen still has his chance later on.
I love that I have no idea what the Magic Rock one is.
It's that one where he's got like the magic crystal rock one and the girl from his childhood, and they like make a wish on it or whatever.
Yes, I know what that is, but like magic rock did not get me there. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely just the most random plot point in that movie.
Magic rock did not get me there. All right, since we seem to be agreeing on this now, Miami Connection, I am now putting in as the victor. So
All
that.
right. I'm also keeping track of things on my side. I don't know if it's going to make any difference, but I'm trying.
I doubt it will, but I'll show the brackets after round one, everyone, don't worry. Match number 2 on round 1. Beyond the Time Barrier versus Double Down.
Oh my God, we're just leading off with all the brain. I'll be completely honest with you.
Yeah, but this is an easy one, though, I think.
Yeah, I don't until I just typed it into IMDb here, I didn't even remember what Beyond the Time Barrier was. So now looking at it, it's easily Breen. There's no question.
Yeah, and Double Down's the first Breen. Double Down's the one where he is the world's best hacker. He's eating tuna out of cans. He's using 5 broken laptops at once. He's, a bio terrorist or something. I can't remember the exact phrase was, but something like that.
I'll just keep doing the IMDb
right,
things.
Go on.
So Double Down is the controversial story of a lone genius who closes down the Las Vegas Strip, ... The government can't stop him as he reunites with his dead girlfriend each night.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. There's 2 things in there. Did he shut down the strip? I don't know if I remember that happening.
I don't remember it either.
And I certainly don't remember him reuniting with a dead woman every night. What's he talking about?
I really have to emphasize the punctuation on this IMDb trivia. So it's the controversial story of a lone genius who closes down the Las Vegas Strip. ... The government can't stop him. Full stop. As he reunites with his dead girlfriend each night. Full stop. It's nonsense. It's absolute insanity.
Yeah.
Beyond the Time Barrier. In 1960, a military test pilot is caught in a time warp that propels him to the far-off year of 2024, where he finds a plague has sterilized the world's population.
Which is why we did this, because it was 2024, and it just made sense to do it then. Perfectly watchable, bad 60s sci-fi movie, some goofy sets, whatever, some goofy acting, but it does not compare to the first cinematic venture of one Neil Breen. Like, your first Neil Breen is an experience. Like, you feel like you've
turned the lights down low, get some candles, some massage oil.
You feel like you've been through the Beyond in 2001. You've went through the Eye of Jupiter, and you're like seeing things in a way you've never seen before. So I'm just going to call it and say that we're picking Double Down for this.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Double Down is the victor. It advances to the next round. Match number 3. Hot Frosty versus Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
So this is where it's really going to come down to the definition of what is a winner in this situation. Because
I can give you a definition.
All right, go for it.
The definition is Hard Ticket to Hawaii wins this easily, obviously. How would you suggest anything else?
No, because that's now what we're defining what this competition is all these other ones that we've had so far is a competition of like, they've simultaneously been worse than each other and yet also more enjoyable. This one, Hot Frosty, is just worst. While this one, the Hard Ticket to Hawaii, is more enjoyable. So it's kind of that definition of where we're coming down of what counts as a winner in the bad movie bracket.
I think that it is simply foolish to suggest that there is a formula to say what the winner is that applies to every match. Every single matching here is its own unique beast. But I look at these 2 names and Hard Ticket to Hawaii, even though it has lulls, right? It's not always like fun to watch. There's definitely some bits that are kind of weird, but that blow up doll scene in the middle with the rocket launcher is like the stuff of legend. The frisbee scene is the stuff of legend. And then you've got like the cancerous ridden snake That makes it more deadly somehow that it has cancer,
yeah.
as if cancer can spread by a bite. I just, like, there's so much going on there. And then the main characters of that movie are two, like, Playboy girls who are supposed to be secret agents, but they're walking around. And there's numerous scenes where they take their tops off for no reason. It's like everything you want in a stupid, bad movie.
No, I agree with you. I'm not saying that it's not. I absolutely agree. But it's just the definition of what counts as a winner when it comes to bad movies. All right, so I'll read this one real quick. In Hawaii, an undercover DEA agent and her civilian friends stumble upon a drug trafficking operation and have to enlist the help of all their colleagues/friends to go after their vicious drug kingpin. And then Hot Frosty. Widow Kathy magically brings a snowman to life. His innocence helps her heal and find love again. They bond before the holidays, but he's doomed to melt.
Yeah, Hot Frosty is a goofy, like, premise, and that's kind of about it. Otherwise, it's pretty much just a cheesy Hallmark Christmas-style movie. It's Netflix,
yeah, I think
but, you know.
I think we discussed it during the review, is that Hot Frosty felt a lot more like it was just trying to be a cheesy Hallmark movie, but the marketing department kind of flipped it into the, oh no, this is a terror-bad movie. This is an awful one that you can laugh with friends, where it really isn't when you watch it. Whereas Hard Ticket to Hawaii has so many, like you described all the crazy moments there. It's one that legitimately belongs in that category just by virtue of the film alone.
Yeah. And it's not that Hot Frosty doesn't have any moments of hilarity, but it's definitely a lot more, like, manufactured. Whereas Hard Ticket to Hawaii is, like, a bunch of crazy people who thought they were making a good movie. Like, that's the difference. Whereas Hot Frosty, I don't think anyone making that was like, oh, we're making cinema here. Like, we're doing something gold. So I think
we've got Lacey Chabert in the lead, so the answer to that is clearly not.
No. Don't you besmirch the voice star of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
I stand by everything I said. There's literally nothing I would change.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii moves on to the second round, because I think the rounds are going to get tougher though, because once we've whittled out some of the easy, like, things to eliminate, then things are going to get really tough.
Yeah.
Match number 4. Fateful Findings versus Suburban Commando.
I've got a pretty immediate gut reaction, but I'm curious what you have to say first.
I believe you do, but I actually don't know which gut reaction it is, which is the distressing thing. Because obviously Fateful Findings is Breen, and it's arguably like, Fateful Findings might be the funniest of the Breen movies we've done. I think there's an argument for that, because this is the one where his childhood, like, love of his life, like, runs into him when he's older, but she's somehow 25 when he's 50. It doesn't make any sense. There's superpowers. There's all sorts of shenanigans going on. There's also that second couple with the guy's
sports car.
Yeah, the guy's got a drinking problem, and there's a whole, like, host of stuff going on there. But Suburban Commando is we've not really had one of these yet, which is the studio movie that was like a marketing gimmick with a star, but it's just so dumb and so, like, made by committee for kids that you watch it and you see all the I say references, but honestly all the things that it's ripping off is maybe more of an apt comparison. But, you know, Hulk Hogan's trying to act. Christopher Lloyd's actually still a Christopher Lloyd, regardless of the shit you put him in. There are things that are funny in that movie. In fact, there's at least one joke in that movie that was legitimately very funny that we both praised quite heavily. So I don't know how you pick this.
So I'll go with the plots real quick. Fateful Findings, a computer scientist / novelist reunites with his childhood friend, hacks into government databases, and faces the dire and fateful consequences of the mythical actions he obtained as a child. And then Suburban Commando is just an interstellar hero from a distant world visits Earth and tries to fit in with the mundane yet kind suburban family.
Yes, lots of fish out of water hijinks ensue. I love that every time you read a Neil Breen plot synopsis of IMDb, I sit here going, wait, what? No, that's not what I remember.
What? Where was the government data? What actions as a child? What's happening?
I mean, there was fateful findings, and I guess that was the government-y stuff, and that led to a ridiculous ending. That's the one where it really started to feel like, oh, these aren't movies, these are building up to his manifesto. That's what these are.
This is the one. I'm looking at the IMDb images right now, and one of the chosen images is a dude standing in front of Congress with a gun that literally has the muzzle flash going off against his temple. Like, this is putting him on a list. We've made that before.
It's probably fateful findings. I kind of want to give Suburban Commando some flowers, but because it is a very watchable bad studio Hollywood movie, but I think fateful findings is too important. It's maybe the most important of the Breen films we've done, and it feels like it has to advance.
Yeah, I think Suburban Commando just got unlucky with the seed here. I think that it could have made it all the way to like second or third round if it was up against just something else, but this one is just too. This is the one that opens up with that weird shower scene with the bandages on the face like 20 minutes in, and that still is scarred into my memory. Right.
Oh, and the impact of the hit and run that happens, where it feels like the car's slowing down as it's coming towards him.
Oh god. Yeah, no, it's got to be fateful findings.
Okay, fateful findings advances to I said that word. Fateful findings advances to round 2. Match number 5. Oh boy.
No.
Madam Web versus Dangerous Men.
Man, all right. So Dangerous Men was really early on, and I just need a little refresher as to which one that was.
Dangerous Men is the movie that's about a woman whose boyfriend is killed on the beach by a gang, and she goes on kind of a revenge path. But at some point during the making of the movie, they pissed off the actress, so she left. So the plot suddenly shifts to something else, and it also ends very suddenly when nothing's been resolved. It's definitely one of those, I can't believe some of the weird decisions and goofy things this movie's doing.
Right.
But it is shot on film, so it looks surprisingly good for what it is.
And then you have Madam Web, which is Madam Web. I don't think much more needs to be said about why that's garbage in its own right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Madam Web was kind of a special case because we had Tim on for that review.
Yes.
And that brought an extra little thing to it. I had fun doing that review as opposed to my normal reviews with you, which are okay at best.
Painful. Okay, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, if we're just talking about like the movie quality itself, Madam Web kind of felt like honestly approaching the same category as Hot Frosty, where it's just like made by committee and just kind of this garbage that was just churned out for the sake of we need some IP.
I think that for a big studio superhero release that's like it came out in 2024, I think it's, about as so bad as good as it maybe could be, and it is legitimately quite funny in some of the decisions it makes. I was laughing at it throughout, but Dangerous Men is such a what the F movie. Like, it keeps just like doing things, and people are saying things that you just like, wait, what's happening now? What's this weird dubbing? Like, it was also a movie that was like unfinished for decades. Like, technically didn't come out until 2010, even though it was clearly shot in like the 80s or whenever it was. So yeah, Dangerous Men is just too much of an interesting find, I think, that it's more of a shocking, surprising movie to watch. Whereas Madam Web, as funny as it kind of is, it's still modern Hollywood slop. So it's not as interesting inherently, even though it does do some funny things that I do think is worth watching. And, even just for Dakota Johnson clearly checking out of the movie halfway through, where she's clearly just sleepwalking through the role at a certain point. But
it's actually kind of strange that both these movies had a female lead just leave in the middle. The only difference is Dakota Johnson's body stayed around.
Yeah, one was literal, the other one was figurative. Yeah.
Just for the sake of keeping consistent here, I'll just read through the IMDb's. Dangerous Men. After her fiance's murder and near assault, a woman becomes a vigilante targeting dangerous men. Her fiance's cop brother investigates the biker gang linked to the crime. Both seek justice through different means. And then Madam Webb is forced to confront her past. Cassandra Webb, a Manhattan paramedic that may have clairvoyant abilities, forms a relationship with 3 young women destined for powerful futures if they can survive their threatening present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, if nothing else, you look at Madame Web, you look at the stars of that movie. You've got Sydney Sweeney, whose career's popping off all over the place. Isabella Merced is in the new Superman movie. She was just in Last of Us Season 2. Her career's popping off. The third girl, I don't really quite know if I know her in anything else yet, but I'm sure she will. I'm sure she'll she'll keep this streak of, the people in that movie actually have good careers now.
I mean, I hate to say that it's something that's a good career, but she is Lucky from the most recent Ghostbusters movies.
Oh, okay. All right.
Those.
Oh, okay. I've seen those. I mean, it's something.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
She's also in production of Scream 7. I don't know what role yet.
Well, it's an ensemble. I'm sure even if she dies relatively early, she'll still probably, hopefully, have a memorable scene at the very least.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Match number 6 is Postal versus Solar Crisis.
Neither of these feel like they should go into the next round.
I don't feel good about any of these choices here.
No.
Look, Uwe Boll, we kind of dragged our feet a little bit not wanting to do an Uwe Boll film, and we finally did one just a few months ago with Postal. So we've at least started his work, but
I'm hoping that we're done with it, but whatever.
Hey, at least you've got the comfort of Alone in the Dark was a Screams movie. Okay? And so was House of the Dead. So two of these biggies were already crossed off the list before Extra Reels. You've got that to at least cling to.
All right. I'll take it. Should I just read the plots real quick? Get that out of the way?
Go for it. Although, this is going to be on public YouTube. I'm a little bit worried that the synopsis for Postal might get us flagged, but see how it is.
It should be fine.
Okay.
Maybe. Postal. In the ironically named city of Paradise, a loser teams up with his cult-leading uncle to steal a peculiar bounty of riches from their local amusement park. The recently arrived Taliban have a similar focus, but a far more sinister intent.
I like how they didn't go into detail about what the amusement park is or has.
No. That's a surprise.
Yeah, that is a surprise. Also, there's full frontal Dave Foley nudity in this, so that's a thing.
Is that a selling point or a warning?
Oh, it's a warning. It's definitely a warning. That said, though, Solar Crisis is such an uninteresting, mostly dull movie that I feel like Postal, just for being as offensive as it is, almost just kind of like wins by default.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I do see that, but Solar Crisis did kind of still have that unfinished feeling to me. That feeling of like, how could this really exist in the way it did? That was one that had like 2 or 3 different title crawls before we got into the movie itself. Like it feels like it is a lot lower quality and a lot like less interesting than Postal was. But Postal, I just genuinely hated more for everything that it was.
Yeah, but it's also more memorable. Like how much do you remember a Solar Crisis? Because I don't. Like I remember like a lot of wandering in the desert because a lot of it's about someone's like nephew who's went down to Earth.
It had Charlton Heston in there as like someone who just could not be asked to act in this movie.
Yeah. I feel like we're basically deciding what gets beat by Dangerous Men next round, and I think Postal can go and get beat by Dangerous Men.
I'll give it to Postal. I'm happy enough to say that it's a tight race and fine, Postal can come out, but that's mainly just because I remember about 3 things in Solar Crisis, whereas everything from Postal is still scarred into my brain.
Yeah, it was a bit more recent, but to be honest, it's just so like aggressively offensive that I think more of it's going to stick in my brain. So, yeah, but it's a race to the bottom with these two. So
yeah, no, I'm not. If Postal manages to make it past round 2, I quit.
Match number 7 is the Avengers. Not the Marvel movie, just for anyone who's
I was hoping you'd let it sit. Just like, yeah, no, we had that on the show. Screw you.
I made a pause. I had a pause just so they all sweated for, 5 seconds. And then that's going up against Troll 2.
Oh, man. Okay.
This is a weird choice because Troll 2 is obviously a very famous bad movie. There's even a documentary about it called Best Worst Movie. So, it's kind of celebrated as a bad movie. Avengers is a horrible 1998 blockbuster based on an old TV show where Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman and Sean Connery all slum it in a horrible script, which I don't think it was. I mean, maybe it was. I didn't actually check the writing credits, but it feels like it was from the exact same mind that made Batman and Robin, because it's like full of just the most similar absurd premise, and the fact that Uma Thurman's in both movies is just such a weird coincidence. But the fact that the plots both revolve around someone trying to freeze the planet and control the weather by the end is kind of nuts. Plus, there's a scene where it just cuts to a room full of teddy bears for no reason, and it's
right. So that's really, I mean, Troll 2, I'll just get the plot real quick. Troll 2, a vacation family discovers that the entire town they're visiting is inhabited by goblins disguised as humans who plan to eat them. And then the Avengers is 2 British agents team up to stop Sir August de Winter from destroying the world with a weather-changing machine. So, obviously, I think any reasonable person would say Troll 2 is the pick. I think that makes the most sense to go forward, because while the Avengers has a couple of moments that are just so bafflingly strange and weird, that's the entirety of Troll 2. Anything that Avengers has going for it, Troll 2 turns up to 11 and makes it so much more. But there's something in my head that says that this is still like a pretty tight race, all things considered. Like I don't know why Avengers is scoring as many points in my head as I think it is.
Well, I think it's because I don't think Troll 2 is consistent as you're making it sound, because, like, it's got like some super great memorable moments. It's got the you can't piss on hospitality. It's got the the hunger pains, that whole section. It's got, oh my god, they're eating, or you can't eat, they're going to eat me next. It's got that bit. It's got a few other, standout moments that are really good, but there are lulls in that movie where it's not really that interesting for chunks. And Avengers also has some lulls, but I feel like Avengers arguably has more like moments where I'm like, wait, what is it doing now? What's this bit? Like,
right. But I feel like when it's Avengers, that's because of like just editing and incompetence and like them, messing with stuff after the fact. Troll 2, it felt like this was genuine. This was an attempt. This was effort put in by the people behind it, and they thought they were doing something great here, and it ended up the way it did. I don't know. That's just, it's different for me.
But you don't think the person making Avengers cutting to a room with everyone around a board table dressed as teddy bears, you don't think they were doing something they believed in when they did that scene? Is that what you're telling me?
Genuinely, no. Genuinely, I think that was drugs. I don't have any other explanation.
I mean, you could make that argument for Troll 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Avengers is the more quirky pick. But Troll 2 is obviously the famous bad movie, so maybe it makes sense to have that go through.
I'm just thinking about it personally. Like, all right, let's... Obviously, this is not defining anything, but I just want to see what were the scores that we did end up giving it. So Avengers gave it a 2.25 with a cutting it close, which is, for anybody who doesn't know our show for whatever reason, we have a secondary rating scale as to whether or not it makes the cut. And then Troll 2 was a 4 and fully makes the cut. I think by that logic, it's got to be Troll 2. Not from the actual number itself, but from making the cut to cutting it close.
Sure. All right. Honestly, I'm kind of torn myself, so
Yeah.
we'll go Troll 2. We'll lock that in. It advances to round 2. Match number 8. The guy from Harlem versus the Super Inframan.
Ooh. This is very, I mean, I'm not going to say similar, but like same time period, give or take, like, and also same kind of weirdness in production where they both just kind of felt really cheap and made almost like without any sort of production value behind it at all.
Yeah, I think there's an obvious pick here, though, if I'm honest.
Okay, which one?
I think Guy from Harlem is the pick, and the reason why is because Super Inframan, while it does feel kind of cheap, it doesn't really feel necessarily that bad in comparison to the type of, it's like a superhero Power Ranger-y type kaiju,
right?
Japanese movie, or I think it's actually Chinese in this case, but it's that type of movie, and I think that in that mold, it's just kind of typical. I think Guy from Harlem has moments of weird bad acting. It has like really weird plot developments, like the main guy is like hired to protect a woman, so he takes her to his girlfriend's place and then kicks his girlfriend out and then has sex with the woman he's protecting, and he does that like kind of twice in the movie, which is really weird. Also, the fight scenes that are clearly not choreographed, and it's just him and the other person rolling around in like the grass, like just awkwardly. Those fight scenes are just, they'll stick with me because they are so ridiculous. So I think out of the context of like, okay, what are you going to show someone to hopefully have them laugh at a bad movie? I think Guy from Harlem is easily the pick between these two.
Yeah, I'd say I agree. I don't really have a good argument. The only thing is that Guy from Harlem in my head is just a little bit fuzzier. There, you reminding me of the girlfriend thing. Like, yes, that's hilarious, and I still remember that now. And then also the fact that I think that from the beginning of the movie, we were like cutting to this cabin, and we didn't actually get a payoff for it until like an hour in, but we just kept cutting back to it over and over again. But the one thing I remember for Super Inframan that I had to save because it was so baffling to me was in the confrontation with the final villain, or one of the final villains. Super Inframan uses some sort of vision or whatever to chop off the villain's head, and then it grows back. And that'd be fine, you do that. But he does it like 5 times, and it's the same effect every time of just zap, head grows back, zap, head grows back. And I'm like, what are we, is this padding? Are we just padding the movie now? Like, I had to save that on my phone because I was just so amazed by the cheapness of it.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. Like, I kind of remember the villain's lair, I think, being kind of silly, but like, honestly, Super Inframan has mostly left my brain at this point, which I guess is also factor into why I think Guy from Harlem's the easy pick, because I actually remember bits of that movie.
That's fair. I'll just read this real quick if Harlem's moving forward as well. So, Guy from Harlem, a private detective operating in Miami, is hired to protect the wife of an African head of state in town for diplomatic business and to recover the daughter of the leader of a criminal organization who has been kidnapped by a rival gang. And then Inframan's easy. It's just Princess Dragon Mom and her mutant army have risen, and only Inframan can stop them.
Straightforward enough, eh? Can't argue with that. So Guy from Harlem moves on to round 2. Match number... What?
Match number 9. We're halfway through the first round now, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we're halfway through the first round. Match number 9 is Gone with the Pope versus Noobs.
Ooh, okay, so Noobs was just the most recent one we did, so it's very fresh on the mind.
It's very fresh. It's definitely Gone with the Pope.
Let no one say that we have recency bias, because no, absolutely.
I mean, Noobs is a painful comedy that is unfunny, where you're just kind of scratching your head and feeling a little bit ashamed that you're watching it the entire time. Gone with the Pope is genuinely interesting, because much like Dangerous Men, it's a movie that was made in like the 70s but didn't actually get finished and released until a boutique label found it and put it together in like 2014 or something like that. And it's like this story of an assassin, and it looks like a real movie because it's shot in the 70s on film, but it's just got like crazy plot beats and acting beats, and like it's trying to be stylistic, but there's just something a bit off about it. And there's like a weird, like, so he's an assassin, but then the movie, like halfway through, it turns into, oh no, we're going to kidnap the Pope. That's what the movie becomes about. And there's a whole weird comedy bit where he tries to trap his friend with a big naked fat lady, and it's like a fast moving comedy sketch where it's just like, isn't it funny? I'm trying to make you have sex with a fat woman, and then it's like it has no bearing on anything else that happens in the entire movie.
I had to sit with that for a full 20 seconds before it popped back into my mind. I completely forgot about that bit. What sticks to me with Gone with the Pope is I think it was the full print. I think they had access to all the footage. I don't think there was anything they were really trying to edit around. But it ended so suddenly.
Yes.
It just stops. Like there's the plot is like barely done, and it's like, boom, done. Move on to credits. That's what I remember the most about this one, is that the third act just felt insane to me. And then, Noob sucks.
Yeah, Noobs is terrible. Noobs is just bad, and you will feel disgusted by watching it, especially if you play video games, because it's like, just, it'll make you feel guilty for doing it, ever. So, yeah, Gone with the Pope.
You'll feel ashamed to be associated with gaming at all.
Yep. So there you go. That is Gone with the Pope advancing to round 2. All right. Match number 10. Oh, okay. A Talking Cat versus Cool as Ice.
All right, so this one really goes by the definition of like enjoyable, like, because there is multiple different levels that you can have enjoyable on. Talking Cat is a David Dakota film. It's absolutely cheap as hell. The plot barely makes any sense. It's got a completely drunk Eric Roberts doing the voice of a cat. Like, it's bad. It's a very bad movie, and it feels very cheap. And while most people would probably laugh at it, I get so pissed off from David Dakota films because I've seen like 24 of them, and they're all the exact same, and this is not any different from that. And it boils in my stomach. Cool as Ice, while studio kind of fits into that Suburban Commando level of, okay, this just feels like a push for this given person for whatever reason who may not be a typical actor. I'm gonna say I enjoy that one more. That one comes off as probably a little bit more normal, but it's more fun, I think, than a Talking Cat ends up being.
I actually do not disagree. All
right.
Cool as Ice isn't going to win many points with me, but a Talking Cat, like, obviously there's the laugh factor of showing someone the cat's like mouth moving effect, and I use the word effect very loosely there. And obviously, okay, so this is stupid, this is bad, but it's like really bottom of the barrel stuff that's mostly, you're just kind of like waiting for the stuff to happen. Cool as Ice, while it, is stupid and the romance makes no sense, there's occasionally like weird little goofy moments of Vanilla Ice saying something silly, or like at one point he wakes up, like the main girl wakes up in bed and he's lying there next to her before they've like even went on a date, and like, you broke into her house and snuck into her bed. This is sociopathic behavior. What are you doing, Mr. Ice? There's just a lot of silly weird things that I have to go Cool as Ice as well. I have to go Cool as Ice.
I'm not even going to bother giving the plot for it. You know what? I can give the plot for Talking Cat because it's literally like 7 words. A sassy feline helps a family resolve its problems. That's it. That's the plot. And then Cool as Ice is a rapper gets stuck in a small town and falls for a local girl whose family is in witness protection. I kind of forgot about that part.
Oh, yeah. There's gangsters coming for her. And then Vanilla Ice and his cronies end up being these heroes that save the day.
For no reason.
Yeah, the plot doesn't really kick in that stuff till the last like 25 minutes, if that.
If even. Yeah.
All right, match number 11. The Paradise Motel versus Pass Through.
Damn. I mean, just to be clear to everybody, Paradise Motel was one of the hardest watches that we've had on this show, just because there is zero production quality in there. There is nothing.
It might be the worst movie we've done on Extra Reels.
Yes.
So
I don't feel bad immediately saying pass through.
Yeah, pass through is Neil Breen. It's interesting. I don't know if it's is as interesting or exciting as the other two that have made it through to this round, but there's definitely moments of gold in there. It's still Neil Breen, and it is easily far more of an interesting, hey, look at this bad movie than Paradise Motel is ever going to be. Paradise Motel was a painful viewing experience.
Yes.
So, no question.
I want
Neil
you to
Breen.
think of your family. Think of that one family member who never accomplished anything. And now imagine what would happen if he put out a movie. Like, that's what Paradise Motel ended up being. And it's just not good beginning to end. But at least it didn't even have the sheer insanity that Neil Breen manages to bring to this one. And this is the one where, I'll just read the thing real quick. A messianic entity from the future, so this is the one where he's the singularity, travels to modern-day Earth to wipe out 300 million bad people and usher in a new era of peace.
Yep. Like I said, manifesto. So, match number 12 is Sinbad, the Battle of the Dark Knights, or the Seven Dark Knights, whatever the title is. It's cut off. It only gives me the first half of it.
Battle of the Dark Knights. Yep.
Yeah. And then that's against Leonard Part 6.
This is another one of those ones where I don't immediately have like a gut reaction because they're both just kind of
They're both terrible. I wasn't fond of my viewing of either of these films. I mean,
so at the very least, I think that Sinbad was just lower production quality all around. Leonard Part 6 was stupid, but at the very least, it's a little bit more memorable. I at least can remember things that happened in Leonard as opposed to Sinbad. Sinbad, I have a couple of visuals in my head, but not really any major plot beats.
Yeah, all I really remember about it is that a second director came in to finish it and did a lot of like all the sort of wraparound present day stuff that acts as like the bookends was all of a second director. And it was a lot more weirder and had supernatural stuff in it, whereas the rest of the movies meant to be this sort of adventure with Sinbad. But to be fair, the adventure with Sinbad's pretty boring for the most part. I don't think that part of it kind of dragged. Leonard Part 6 is terrible, though. It's like one of the worst comedies that I've ever had the misfortune of sitting through.
It is, but I guess that's the question of, is something that's completely forgettable and has no redeeming qualities to it, but is forgettable, worse or better than something that is memorable but sucked really hard?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm curious about just asking this question separate from the round.
Okay.
Which comedy was worse, Leonard Part 6 or Noobs?
Noobs.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's like that is a damning statement for Noobs.
Yeah, because Noobs, at the very least, with Leonard, it was shot on film, so like it looks at least a little bit better. But B, I just didn't have a connection with Leonard. It was bad, but it was bad in a way of like, I didn't care about Bill Cosby. I don't care about any of the stuff he's doing. It's a stupid little spy parody film. Noobs made me cringe because it did something that I'm at least mildly familiar with, and it did it poorly. So, yeah, I think that's more so why I hate that more.
Yep, I'm just curious. Yeah, I think Leonard Part 6 takes this, and that pains me because that is not a movie I was positive on in any way, shape, or form, but it's honestly more memorable than Sinbad is.
That's fair. I don't expect it to make it past the next round. It's definitely in that same sort of postal area.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but hey, all right, Leonard Part 6 makes it to round 2. 13, Mac and Me
all right,
versus The Last Vampire on Earth.
Ooh.
This is
Mac and me.
This is a legitimately
Yeah.
a tough one because I think both of these are kind of special in different ways.
They are. Mac and Me is definitely a lot more fun, but Last Vampire on Earth it's hitting that same je ne sais quoi of what the hell is happening than I think Mac and Me does. Mac and Me is, as much as it does have crazy moments, they are explained in the plot. They are gotten to via reasonable means. Every once in a while you'll skew off weird, but for the most part it's just a weird setup and then everything falls out of that. Last Vampire on Earth makes some strange choices throughout, and it constantly keeps the production value at that just barely over the mark of, well, you clearly knew you were doing something, but I can't believe that you got away with it.
I think you're forgetting how bad the sound was on it. I think the production value is pretty bottom of the barrel, to be honest. I mean, it's a Twilight ripoff that doesn't change the plot that much, other than some really egregious ways. Like, for example, they're going to do a Dracula play, so there's a lot of like Dracula talk. Also, Bella has AIDS, so
I still think back to one of my favorite sequences in that movie, which is him pouring a cup of blood, but the bag he cut like too small of an opening, and he has to just sit there because they didn't have a second prop, and they just let it drip out for like 2 straight minutes before he's like, all right, good enough, and tosses it away.
Yeah, tosses away perfectly good blood, which is hard to come by when you're a vampire trying to avoid killing humans.
Also, I will point out, both of these were fun reviews for me. As much as I enjoyed the movies, the Last Vampire on Earth, I was over in Scotland, so that was one that we managed to meet up, watch the movie together, and review it in person. And Mac and Me, I nearly died because I drank like 6 Cokes over the course of that review for the sake of a joke.
Yes, because Mac and Me notoriously had a lot of product placement, including Coca-Cola, and let's not forget McDonald's, which is the happiest place on earth if you go by Mac and Me's logic. Oh god, this is tough because Mac and Me is a super famous bad movie, right? It's one of the most famous mainstream bad movies. It's the one that Paul Rudd always makes fun of whenever he's on a talk show, so people know what it is still. And it is notorious for being the big rip-off of E.T. and all these other things that make it notable and memorable. Last Vampire on Earth is just like legitimately like verging into that special territory of, like, I'm not saying it's up there with The Room, but it's kind of like, if you were going to do like the 10 terrible movies you should watch from the start of the century onwards, I think Last Vampire on Earth stands a very good chance of getting into that list.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, I really don't have a good answer for this one.
That's maybe the toughest match we've had in round 1.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we said, like ratings wise. Maybe that'll guide us just a little bit here.
Wait,
So,
no, I like, there's no way I rated Last Vampire on Earth higher than Mac and Me. There is no chance in hell I did.
Absolutely not. It's more so about the making the cut or whatnot, because that's about when it's enjoyable. So Last Vampire on Earth, you gave a 1.
Yeah.
I gave a 0.5.
That makes sense.
And we both said it was cutting it close. Mac and Me, we both gave 3s, and we said it makes the cut.
Here's the thing. You tell me we said it was cutting it close for Last Vampire on Earth. I think that was a mistake.
Probably. Looking back on it, yeah.
Yeah, I think it at least makes the cut. As far as bad movies goes, I think it makes the cut.
Yeah, which means now we have 2 makes the cut, and that doesn't answer any questions.
Okay. I am... it's so rough because I feel like thus far the studio bad movies have been losing, and quite rightly for most of them. I feel like Mac and Me is their one real, well, maybe not the only chance, but it's I think it's the one that I see going the furthest out of them, and it, because of the seed matchup for round 1, it might potentially be knocked out already. and that's kind of a shame. But I don't know. This is the thing. I think there's a valid argument for both. This is why the random seed is a good idea, because it puts us into this position where we're having to pick this right up front, and I don't.
Right. I if I have to put out there, I think Mac and Me has more memorable moments. Last Vampire on Earth has a bunch, don't get me wrong, but I think Mac and Me, I think back to that one, and every like third scene has something that I can still quote. Whereas Last Vampire on Earth, there are big plot beats, and the whole plot is completely insane, but I think it has less memorable moments than Mac and Me. So I'm going to put forward my vote and say Mac and Me, just by a hair.
Last Vampire on Earth's definitely a harder watch because of the nature of the production value and the quality of the writing is so, like you're kind of waiting for certain scenes to end at a point. But I do think of certain moments, like when the main girl's holding a gun against people and her finger's behind the trigger, that is just insane. And part of me's like, is that a mistake on the actress part, or was this a case of, oh no, we only have a real gun and we want to make sure she doesn't accidentally shoot anyone, so make sure your finger's on the other side of the trigger no matter how dumb it looks.
Yeah. I could see it going either way.
I feel bad. I think either one that gets kicked out now, I think it was a victim of a first round seed that put it up against another Titan. I think I will agree that Mac and Me advances. I'm not happy about it, but
okay.
It's I think for this its special place in history. I think it deserves at least to advance a round.
Yeah, I would love if after that long pause, after all that you said, I think Last Vampire, and we just have to sit here for 15 more minutes.
All right, so that advanced there.
All right,
match number 14. Skyscraper versus Steel.
Okay. Neither one of these really swinging for the fences too hard, but not like offensively bad either. It's just kind of in like a middling territory.
I mean, Skyscraper, like, a lot of the Die Hard knockoff stuff is painfully boring and just you can't really follow it, which is criminal for the type of movie it's supposed to be. It does have one or two really funny moments, and one or two surprisingly good stunts, which really sticks out because the rest of the quality is so bad in terms of, acting, direction, all the other stuff. So when there's like a scene of her dangling off the side of the building, I'm like, wait, why does this look so good all of a sudden? This is weird.
Right.
And it's got the main villain who's chewing the scenery, especially in that one scene where I can't quote the line because of the F-bomb. We're on YouTube for this one, but that was really funny. Steel, I think, is a bit more notorious in terms of its reputation. It's more well known as a bad movie for sure.
Yeah.
You've got the Shaq acting. You have, some of the weird, like the ways that it handles someone who's been put in a wheelchair and all the weird like decisions it makes with how to deal with that.
Right.
It tries to make Shaq's basketball skills a plot point in the movie, which is something else. I
mean, you're saying all this stuff, and I agree with you in that it is more well known, but I just don't think it's doing enough. Like, I'm looking back at Skyscraper now, and I'm just being reminded of how there's that entire subplot of how Anna Nicole Smith just was absolutely desperate for kids, and the husband's just like, no way, screw that. Like, being reminded of those things is reminding me that this movie was stupid, but it was stupid in a fun way. Whereas Shaq, I think, it had its moments, but for the most part, it did just kind of feel like, again, that Suburban Commando sort of thing, where it felt like it was so safe by studio standards that it ended up being nothing.
I love how you said Shaq instead of Steel there, which made it sound funnier.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not that passionate about Steel by any means. And I think against a lot of the other movies that we've already talked about, it would easily lose. I think Skyscraper's one of the ones though that I just don't feel like Skyscraper's offering enough for me to feel strongly about it. Because Skyscraper, other than a couple of memorable moments, was mostly actually really boring to watch. And not that Steel isn't boring, because it is mostly boring. At least there's, I don't know, more of an iconic glaze over Steel. You know, it's the Shaq superhero movie. But
yeah,
I don't feel super passionate one way or the other.
I get what you're saying. I think I'm also remembering now that my initial watch through, I may have gotten this wrong, but my initial watch through of Skyscraper was a edited for TV cut or edited for YouTube cut, because people were just uploading this to YouTube. And as such, a lot of the nudity was just chopped out. But the issue being is that there is plot that happens during the nudity. And so like the entire first like intro scene of the wife and the husband character is just gone in that cut, because we don't like, they didn't want to show that. So now we come into the second scene and all of a sudden like the wife's complaining about the husband not wanting kids. And we're like, where the hell was that? We don't, was this just implied? And then you find out that it was actually in the longer cut. So it's kind of this thing where the confusion and the fun I had with it was because of a poor cut rather than the movie itself.
Yeah, you can't really award the movie for that, really.
Right. Yeah. All right. I'm again, I'm not really that pressed on either one. I do think Shaq's probably more bland, but yeah, Skyscraper's just not offering a lot in its own right.
All right. Okay, Steel advances to round 2. We'll move on to number 15, match 15, the penultimate match of round 1, and that is Jim Cata versus On Deadly Ground.
Okay. I just need a little refresher of On Deadly Ground. Oh, that's Seagal.
Steven Seagal, yeah. What else you need to know?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's between Miami Connection, On Deadly Ground, and Dangerous Men. In my mind, all those names just kind of blend together.
Okay. Well, here's the thing.
On Deadly Ground.
Yeah, Jim Cata, despite its great title and a premise that sounds like it should be a hoot, is very, very boring, especially its third act, where it's just so repetitive, running around this quiet village. The fighting is not entertaining. There's one or two chuckle moments or little funny ideas, but for the most part, it's just really, really dull, and does not even, like, it in no way succeeds as an enjoyable bad movie. On Deadly Ground, I don't think it's that enjoyable either, to be honest, but I do think what is there is more entertaining. Like, you know, Seagal taking himself super seriously. Is it Michael Caine's got the American accent in that one, and that's like really rough to watch and kind of funny. Don't love it by any means, but there's at least a few memorable scenes, and at least when it's really bad, because it's a studio movie, it's not as painful to sit through as Jim Cata, because it's a, you know, super cheap, bad movie.
It's one of those ones where it just feels like, I think we said this, it has very mixed messagings, because implicitly it's just Seagal wanting to beat people up for the entire movie. He's a dick. Like, he doesn't care about anything except hurting and killing people. But then the movie tries to tack on this care about the environment message, and it feels so misguided.
Yeah, it's maybe more fascinating in a sort of meta way, because it's like, okay, this is the movie that he basically blackmailed Warner Brothers into letting him direct so that he would do Under Siege 2. So it's kind of fascinating from the context of why it exists, perhaps maybe a bit more so than anything in the movie, but that's still more interesting than anything in Jim Cata. So yeah, I would agree. On Deadly Ground is taking the pick. So cool. All right, our final match for round 1 is Deadly Prey versus Christian Mingle.
Ooh, very similar plots on those two.
Yeah, Deadly Prey's a First Blood Rambo knockoff. Christian Mingle is, well, Leslie Chabert joins a religious dating site and lies about the fact that she's a Catholic or whatever, and awkward romance ensues.
And obviously, Christian Mingle is an actual dating site. You would think that it'd be full of product placement, but in actuality, she uses the website like once, and the rest of it is just a faith film.
Yep. She goes with them to do missionary work because his family does that every year or something. I remember their date being kind of funny because the religious guy like is so confused by sushi and doesn't understand it, and that was like a weird scene.
I just remember how the entire back half is basically her being like, "Oh, I'm going to actually become a Christian to like win this guy over," and then it doesn't work. And then the movie at the very end is just like, nah, never mind, it works. Like it couldn't decide whether or not it was better for her to find God or for her to get her actual reward.
Yeah. Well, I think by the end she actually has found God. Like she's pretending to a point, and then she, has her moments.
You would think they wouldn't want it to be something where it's like, if you find God, you get something good. Finding God should be its own reward, but no, you also get a boyfriend. And then Deadly Prey, I still can picture the van coming into that suburban ass neighborhood and kidnapping that guy. So it has its moments.
It does. It has Cameron Mitchell is that great moment where he's like, "You lied," and just shoots the bad guy like nothing. Yeah. That's really funny. The fact that the guy's doing this First Blood survival thing in the jungle, but halfway through the movie, he just walks back to his house as if he could always do that. And it's like, what the hell? Why didn't you just do that earlier?
Yep.
So, Deadly Prey was more enjoyable of the two here, I think it's fair to say.
I feel like there is room for Christian Mingle to enter the chat in very specific talks about, like, let's watch a bad movie. But because these are two very different tones. Depending on your audience, you got to play it by ear whether or not Christian Mingle's going to be better for the audience in bad movie, or if Deadly Prey is. But for our purposes and for this show, I don't think it's really a debate that Deadly Prey is the more enjoyable of the two.
All right, Deadly Prey moves on to round 2.
All right,
and with that, we are actually ready for round 2. Round 1 is over.
Woo.
Everyone, advances are happening. This is wild stuff.
And now,
yes,
because we still have 15 matches left, we are technically on track to be over 2 hours. I'm nailing it, just barely.
Yeah, but some of these debates are about to get more heated. We've got Titans versus Titans, and for those watching the video version, the bracket is indeed on screen. Also, David's like too low in the frame because he wasn't here when I set this up.
Hello.
So that's funny. And it's just making him smaller. I don't want to make him smaller. There you go. That's better.
Wait, hold on. Don't adjust it. I'm up in my chair. I'll be lower down. There we go. Now put me where I need to be.
Whatever. You're just a small man. You're a tiny small man.
Damn it.
No, I won't keep it on this, but for anyone who wants to look at the bracket just now, you can look at kind of how things have shaped out so far. We'll be getting to round 2 momentarily, so hey, fun times ahead. But I'll go back to our main screen here so David doesn't look like a tiny little person, and we'll get fired into it. So, first matchup of round 2.
Okay.
Miami Connection versus Double Down.
All right, so it's basically the first round again. Neil Breen versus Miami Connection.
That is true, but it is a better Neil Breen versus Miami Connection. Now, I don't think that means, though, that Miami Connection doesn't stand a chance, because I think it's still a pretty fair fight here.
It is. It absolutely is. I just... For everything that I can picture Miami Connection, and, like, there's a lot. There's, like, the sequence where they just start sparring in the middle of it, and then just... It stops for equally no reason. For all of those moments, I just picture Neil Breen sitting outside his car in the desert. An assassin comes to attack him and gets hit by a space laser. Because that happens. And, like, I don't feel like Miami Connection has anything that can compete with that in terms of what in the hell is going on here. Like, it's... Double Down is just... that little bit of extra crazy where the fact that it's Neil Breen's, I won't say first thing, because I don't know if maybe he did smaller things before that, but his first one that was a major out there sort of production. I can't believe that.
I thought you were going to say major motion picture. I'm like, I don't think you understand what that phrase means, David.
No. Would not say that.
No. I don't know. Like, I could go either way on this match, to be fair. I think that Miami Connection has that weird oddball sort of sense of things where it's like, okay, it feels like someone who's not American trying to make a very American movie, and there's just all these weird mistranslations throughout. Double Down is your first big Neil Breen movie. It's got all of his eccentricities. I will let you. Yeah, I'm 50-50. You can break my tie, if you will. What are you picking?
See, here's the thing. I'm looking at the rest of the matchup. I'm looking at the rest of the bracket here. And I think it's okay. So just to say my thought process out loud here for everybody.
I don't want you to be thinking about like, oh, what's this going to face in the next round? I think that's a bit disingenuous as to just the one-on-one.
Yeah, fair enough. So keeping it focused. I feel like in my gut, I do want to say Miami Connection. Because I'm looking at Double Down and like, Double Down is strong. Double Down is something that is intense and weird and is prime Neil Breen, but I do think Neil Breen is one of those kinds where his early movie, as weird as it was and as bad as it was, the fact that he's been able to do more with later films kind of makes it so that like the prime Neil Breen vision is the more recent ones. The first one, he's limited by his being held back by the fact that he doesn't know how to do anything. The later ones are exemplified by the fact that he still doesn't know how to do anything, but he can do it with more special effects.
Special, yes, that's the word I'd use. Okay, Miami Connection. I'm happy with that. I think, I mean, keep in mind, there's 2 other Neil Breen movies in this round still. Like, it's not down and out for Neil Breen. He has by far the biggest advantage over sheer number of films that we've done of his. Yeah. So, yeah. Miami Connection goes through to the quarterfinals. You have succeeded. In honor, everyone, take your shirts off, put your leg up on the table, and ask your friend why he's upset about his missing daddy. Match number 2 for round 2 is Hard Ticket to Hawaii versus Fateful Findings.
So I feel like on this one, it's the same sort of issue. It's the same exact sort of setup here, but I think for this one I'm flipped, where I'm a little bit more towards Fateful Findings than I am for Miami, or not Miami, for Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how both Miami Connection and Hard Ticket to Hawaii both have places in the US in their titles. Yeah, I have to say, I think so too. I think Fateful Findings is if there's going to be a Breen that makes it the furthest out of the Breens, I think Fateful Findings is the one that's going to do it. Because I think Fateful Findings, because I think there's kind of like a bell curve to Breen, where I think that, we've not done his 5th or his 6th film yet, right? But I do know that his 6th film is all green screen. And I'm not looking forward to that one. I think that one's going to be kind of rough to get through. And I think Fateful Findings is his 3rd film. It's right there in the middle. And I think it's the perfect amount of his bullshit from both ends of the spectrum. It's the perfect amount of his crazy, I'm the best at everything, all of his nonsense, but it's got the weird superpowers and the weird logic and all these other things going on.
Right.
but it's not like as off the deep end in other ways that maybe like his later stuff is going to be from like a filmmaking perspective. So I think,
Yeah.
and the Pyramid of Breen, I think Fateful Findings, at least out of the ones we've done, it's at the top of that pyramid. And I do think that while Hard Ticket to Hawaii has like 3 or 4 absolutely memorable all-timer bad movie scenes, Fateful Findings is like a constant all-timer.
Yeah.
What is going on? What is happening here? This is such a weird, like, just egotistical, like, rampage of a movie. You know, the scene where he has 2 like women striptease, and but they also don't want to show any nudity on camera, so they're awkwardly holding their bikinis the entire time. The whole thing is just absurd from start to finish. I think Fateful Findings takes the cake here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say. And I mean, most of Neil Breen's movies, I kind of get reminded by the plot by looking at photos that IMDb chooses, because as much as they all sound the same of Neil Breen comes in and saves the day because he's just that smart and cool and great, if you see the images, you can very easily remember, like, oh yeah, that was that one. That was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think Pass Through was the one we did last, so I think I remember that the most just because of time. But yeah, generally speaking, yeah, absolutely. Next up, Dangerous Men wins against Postal.
Well, Pete, I would like to argue with you. I would like to stand up and tell you that Postal is a satirical gem that is absolutely looking at the
all lies
Bush era politics and how the media interacts with that and the plight of the average man and the hardships he has to go through. But I'm not going to make that argument. So yeah, sure. Dangerous Men.
The Bush era. Oh, you mean the president? Okay, I get it.
Yeah. No, not the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, Dangerous Men's an interesting bad movie that's weird, that a lot of its oddities come from like behind the scene troubles, but even the way it was written in the first place was so absurd in its writing and dialogue, and like it's just a fascinating movie pretty much from start to finish. Postal is just offensive. It's going for the lowest common denominator. Like, I'm going to say something as edgy as possible, probably about Nazis or Taliban or whatever like subject of the day, you know, they could do. It opens with a 9/11 joke for of all things, and that's just sets you up. So Dangerous Men absolutely kicks the shit out of a ball. So there we go. And you know, Postal would have been out in round 1 had the seed been like even just a little more even. But as it is,
I think Postal up against like Madam Web. I would take Madam Web.
I
without
agree.
Question.
I agree. I think there's only maybe 3 or 4 movies out of the 32 that Postal would beat, honestly. And Solar Crisis was obviously one of them. But
right.
Yeah. Because as much as we said that Noobs is worse than Leonard Part 6, Postal's worse than Noobs.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that's a controversial statement.
Yeah.
All right, next matchup in round 2 is Troll 2 versus The Guy from Harlem.
I feel like I'm coming out of this one with Troll 2. As much as Guy from Harlem did have some solid moments to it, I think that there were some, funny plot beats and stuff like that. Troll 2 is just, on every category I could think of Guy from Harlem being like a bad movie and being enjoyable in that, Troll 2 just does it better.
Yeah, I think it's Troll 2. I think it's funny that I think Troll 2 had a much closer fight in round 1, but I think in round 2 it is the winner pretty easily.
Yeah.
Guy from Harlem does have its moments. I think it is entertaining enough as a bad movie. I think it does work in that capacity, but Troll 2 has just got bigger moments, it's more memorable, and it's more famous for, the reasons of therein. So, yeah, I gotta say Troll 2. I don't have much more to add than that. So Troll
Alright.
2 advances to the quarterfinals, everyone.
Woo.
All right, next matchup in round 2 is Gone with the Pope versus Cool as Ice.
Gone with the Pope.
Yeah, Gone with the Pope's. This is another easy one. I think Gone with the Pope absolutely wipes the floor with Cool as Ice. It's Gone with the Pope and Dangerous Men are the two that sort of were finished later, that were these oddities that were found and never quite like edited to completion. And I think they're both very interesting, weird movies. Not just because of that, but that adds to their mystique. And I think Cool as Ice is, it's kind of like this is like a weird, like shitty, bad movie a studio put out as a marketing gimmick for Vanilla Ice to try and make him a movie star. And it's fascinating in the context of that, but it's not actually that wild or interesting. Like, most of the critiques came down to this writing is bad or this scene is just a music video. And that's
This scene is just a music video. Vanilla Ice should be in prison. He is a menace to society.
Drop the zero and get with the hero.
I'm surprised you remember that, but it wasn't the trailer, wasn't it?
I knew that clip from before I even watched the movie. I hadn't seen the movie yet, and I knew that clip. So
fair enough. My biggest memory of that is them going to a construction site and just dicking around in a house that hasn't been made yet for like 5 straight minutes. It's like, okay, I guess this is bonding. Sure.
Yeah, but the most ridiculous part of all of it is that they remember that location and realize it must be where the villains have went later.
That's right.
Because of a sound they hear in the background. So it's actually a plot setup that they go and hang out at this like unfinished house.
I'm just now realizing that Steel and Cool as Ice are so similar in that it makes a plot point of Shaq not being able to throw 3 throws. And it also makes a plot point of Vanilla Ice being good with music and sound design. Like, those are both actual plot points that saved the day.
Yeah, except one's meant to be good with one and uses it. The other one's meant to be bad with it, but overcomes it at the end to save the day.
That's called character growth, which is why it's going to the semifinals.
Well, we'll find out soon. But next matchup, Gone with the Pope went through to the quarterfinals there, for the record.
Yes.
Next matchup, Pass Through versus Leonard Part 6.
Passer. No debate.
Yeah, it's not really much of a competition. Pass Through is still a Neil Breen movie. It's interesting, it's weird. There's odd, memorable characters, like the pimp lady who yells every single line of dialogue she has.
Yeah.
Just it's Pass Through. Like there's no question. Leonard Part 6 is a bad spoof where all the jokes completely fall flat.
Yeah, I mean, Leonard Part 6, we're at a weird period where, because of like self-publishing and stuff like that, I think that Leonard Part 6, if you went back to even like 2002, 2003, it would absolutely be in the talks for, this is one of the worst movies of all time. Like, it's something that is an issue because it did get that distribution. It was well known amongst people. But nowadays, now that everyone has access to shows like these, where we talk about these things that are just on the underbelly of the internet, it doesn't stand a chance.
Yep. All right. Next matchup, Mac and Me versus Steel.
I feel like it's pretty obviously Mac and Me. I can make an argument if need be, but I feel like it's obvious.
Oh no, it's obvious. Yeah, like the Big Mac is stronger than Steel, as we would find out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Coke can melt steel beams.
Funnily enough, though, these are both movies where one of the main characters is in a wheelchair, and I don't recall Steel having a like the kid in the wheelchair like racing down all the hill, the roads that are on a hill from bad guys. And then eventually he's picked up in a van by the other good characters. Like, but there's an entire downhill sequence of him dodging bad guys in cars chasing after him. That is a whole sequence. It's right after the McDonald's section where the dance number happens. That's right. There's a dance number in McDonald's, for those of you who don't know.
if you haven't seen Mac and Me, stop listening to this and just go watch Mac and Me and then come back and find out how far it makes it, because it's so crazy how that movie evolves.
Yeah, it's just way more wild and interesting than Steel is. So yeah, Mac and Me advances to the quarterfinals. And our final match of round 2, On Deadly Ground versus Deadly Prey.
My gut
somehow
is immediate.
somehow the two movies with the word deadly in the title have ended up fighting each other. But
this is the deadly bracket.
Yeah. Oh, it's Deadly Prey easily. There's not even a question. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's, as I was watching On Deadly Ground, I probably thought that it was that extra level of awful because of like Seagal's stilted acting and how it's mixed messages of save the environment and kill everybody. But after the fact, looking back on it, it's pretty tame, all things considered. It's just your average not well-made movie instead of something where it's really actually just confusingly out there, and that's where Deadly Prey takes the lead.
It's also pretty bland, which I think is one of the bigger sins that some of these bad movies can have, is just being bland. And I think a lot of On Deadly Ground is just bland, and that's kind of a shame. But that actually wraps up round 2, which means we're getting ready for the quarterfinals here. So we'll go back to David being tiny, although I actually will fix that. I've realized
I got it.
I've realized how I can fix it. Hold on a second here. I'll just
going the wrong way.
no, I need to make it bigger. I had to get the corner so I could move it. There you go.
How's it going, audio people? You enjoying this?
Yeah, the audio people don't know what we're doing. But the bracket is there on the screen now for the video folk, and we're getting into the quarterfinals. It's looking, we're getting into some hot contests here. Like half of those matches in round 2 were quite easy just because of the way the matches worked out. I don't think we're getting into a lot of easy territory with what's coming up now. So we will get straight into the quarterfinals.
All right, I'm ready.
The first quarterfinal match is Miami Connection versus Fateful Findings.
So I feel like we already had this talk now twice, because Miami Connection has just constantly been up against Neil Breen. But I think this is
that's
where...
true. It's fought Neil Breen in every round it's been in.
Yes, but I do think that the only way that we can stop this violence is by turning to peace, and say Fateful Findings.
Whoa, what was peaceful about Fateful Findings? Well, I guess he wasn't that violent in that one compared to some of the other ones, but...
Yeah, that's when he was a kid and doing all that other stuff. Look, I was really on the fence between Double Down and Miami Connection, but I don't think it can quite still pull out for Fateful Findings. I think that's where it's just enough. Neil Breen has, you said before, he got into his groove here. It's the top of the bell curve. I think this is the one where it pulls out ahead.
I think that I agree it's Fateful Findings, but I would like to say that Miami Connection got a tough fight the entire way because it kept going up against Breen. And the fact that it was able to get to the quarterfinals and beat 2 Breen movies, I think, is a testament to how much of a fun bad movie it is. Had this been somewhere else in the seed, it might have gotten even further. But this is probably where it gets off the train, and Fateful Findings keeps on moving to the semi-finals. So,
all right.
Yep. Fateful Findings moves on through. So,
good job.
Yeah, wild stuff. Second quarterfinal matchup, I think, is a little bit easier. Because it's Dangerous Men versus Troll 2. Now, I think it's a slightly easy one. I don't know if you think it's easy.
I don't know. I genuinely have no idea which side you're coming down on here. But for me, yes, I agree it's easy. And I'm coming down on the side of Troll 2.
I'm coming down on Dangerous Men.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Half an hour. Let's go.
Yeah. We've been waiting for this, for the fight.
So for me, my thing is Dangerous Men is good. It is definitely a strong pick. But for me, it's just not like stuck in my mind enough. Like Dangerous Men, I recognize as you recap everything, as you say, here's all the stuff that happened in this movie. I remember it. It is insane. It is absolutely crazy in how this was produced, how we managed to switch protagonists halfway through, how it just suddenly stops, like all of that. Great. But once it's done, it didn't stick in my memory as well as something like Macamee. That one has staying power that is just unbelievably strong.
Well, that's great, David, but we're not talking about Mac and Me.
Oh, sorry. Which one are we talking about?
Troll 2.
Troll 2. My bad. That's what I meant. I pictured the scene of them eating the bodies and the green on their mouth, and for some reason, Macamee came out of my mouth.
That doesn't help your argument that you mistook the one you're arguing for another movie. So that's a notch against you. But
fair enough.
Dangerous Men did stick in my head, and I think Dangerous Men is more wild than Troll 2. I think Troll 2, kind of like what you were saying before about how Lair Part 6 in 2003 probably considered one of the worst movies ever made. Troll 2 for a time is considered one of the worst movies, the best worst movie. Mm-hmm. I think that in 2025, after all the bad movies that have been discovered, especially all the fun ones that have been discovered, I don't think it's up there to be in the top 4. I just don't.
Okay.
I think Dangerous Men is. And I think of certain moments in Dangerous Men, I think of the main character, her witnessing her boyfriend be murdered by this gang, and literally runs after the leader of the gang and says, hey, I want to go with you. Like, she completely stops crying about her boyfriend and switches to, I want to make love to a real biker man in the space of about 5 seconds. And it's one of the most what the hell is going on moments I think I have ever felt in a movie. And then you realize that she's just doing it for revenge, which makes him look really dumb because she's just luring him into a room where she can stab him. And it's...
Right.
And everything about it is just... It's got that air of... This movie might do anything next because there's just not logic to how the characters think or operate, and it's unpredictable, and that rears its head throughout a lot. Troll 2, well, obviously a fun bad movie and has some very memorable lines and quotes. I think it kind of sags once it gets into the plot really going. You know, like the right. Kids sneaking around, spying on the people in the town, and who are all like, under the control of the trolls or whatever, and the weird stuff where they're trapped in the house at the end. Like, none of that stuff is particularly funny necessarily. Yeah. So
all right, yeah, no, I'm big enough to admit when I'm wrong. Again, this is something where Dangerous Men just didn't stick in my mind, but as you are telling me about these things, and as I am seeing like the images and stuff from IMDb, I am reminded of how absolutely insane it is. So I will agree. I think that Dangerous Men probably does have it out over Troll 2, as much as it is something that is not staying power. It is something that is at least got that extra factor to it that the really special movies have.
All right. Dangerous Men goes through to the semifinals. Exciting stuff. Right. Third quarterfinal. Gone with the Pope versus Pass Through.
This one's close.
This one's tough. It's actually like, yeah,
So I think for me, Pass Through, it does have a little bit of a recency bias, but in just looking at everything here, Pass Through is strange, but it doesn't feel anywhere as strange as something like Fateful Findings, or I would even argue Double Down. I think it's just a little bit less than those. Whereas Gone with the Pope, while it starts very slow, by the time it hits the main thrust of what it is planning on doing with the story and then evolves from there, it gets so off the wall insane that by the time it ends, it has that same sort of thing with Dangerous Men, where I genuinely had no idea where it could have been going at any moment.
Yeah, it kept going further than I think we thought it was going to. And the final point of it ended up being, like, it had a point to make by the end, as poorly told as it might have been as far as taking it seriously goes, which was kind of oddly impressive. Yeah, Gone with the Pope's a really interesting find, and the fact that the main guy in it looks a little bit like Neil Breen is just the icing on the cake for everything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I think it's him in the 70s, but if he later comes out and says, "Oh, that was me, by the way," I wouldn't be like shocked at it either.
Nah, I could see this being his father. This could absolutely be a bloodline sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Gone with the Pope takes this. I think Gone with the Pope's a special find, and I'm glad we have it in our lives.
Yes. I do need to go back to these. So many of the first like 5 we did made it through very deep. Miami Connection, Deadly Prey, Dangerous Man, Gone with the Pope. Like these are the ones I need to go back to again and just remind myself. Oh yeah, we started with some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and it's been misery ever since. All right, final quarterfinal is Mac and Me versus Deadly Prey.
All right, if you're going to make an argument for Deadly Prey, I'm going to need you to make it, because this is another one of those that didn't stick in my mind as well as I would have liked. And I am obviously a big fan of Mac and Me.
Obviously. That's what people say about you.
Yeah.
I don't think I am going to make an argument. I think I actually think it should be Mac and Me. But
all right.
It's not because Deadly Prey is lacking as a fun bad movie. I think it deserved to get to the quarterfinals. It had some easy competition, but I think Deadly Prey would have gotten here even with stiffer competition. But I think this is maybe where it gets booted off the train, because Mac and Me feels like one of the quintessential studio bad movies.
Right.
You know, obviously there's a couple of movies that maybe deserve to be in a tournament like this that aren't, because we didn't get them done on extra reels, just because they happen to be, you know, a sci-fi movie for so they happen to be part of a franchise, you know, on collector's cut. But as far as looking at the movies we have done, I think it's the studio-led crown jewel of the bad movies.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there's tons of we used to do bonus episodes for collector's cut, and those were also on Patreon. I could think of 2 or 3 of those that would fit in this bracket.
Oh, the Snowman,
very
easily.
The
Snowman,
Legend of Chun-Li.
Oh, Legend of Chun-Li, yeah. Oh god, yeah. Those are basically extra reels in all but name. Like, if you want a few extra reels episodes, go back and check out those Patreon bonus episodes of Collector's Cut.
Yep.
I even put the joke in for Snowman because it was the last one we did, where I had the overlay fade over the course of the whole episode to extra reels, which is one of my most inspired little jokes, if I do say so myself.
The most inspired joke ever done is an 1.5 hour long slow fade.
Well, I think what I like about it, though, is that everyone will have a moment in the middle, either because they've not been paying attention or they think they're seeing something, but it's too faint yet to really notice. Everyone will have a different moment somewhere in the middle where they go, wait a minute, I get what it's doing. And I like that.
I would have done a like a mosaic dissolve where it's actually just like 1 pixel at a time. So that way, like, at a certain point, it overtakes and you're like, is my screen glitching? What's happening here?
That's a way to go. It's a way to go. But all right,
Mac and Me.
Mac and Me is the clear winner, and we haven't even mentioned the wheelchair going off the side of the waterfall or whatever it is.
That's what you save for the finals. You put that in there when you need the extra little push off the cliff.
That's assuming it makes it to the finals, because it's time for the semi-finals. Right? So you all there, right? We've got semis, you've got semis, it's time for semi-finals. So here.
This is hard.
It's semi. So the first matchup in the semi-finals is Fateful Findings versus Dangerous Man. And I do not know which one I think should win this. It's actually, like, we're at the point now where we've gotten rid of the weaker ones. Like, all the they were mostly gone by the quarterfinals, but they're definitely all gone now. We're down to just the greats.
Yes, cream of the crop.
I don't know.
I want to point out that none of these movies have over a 5 in what we rated them. because the
Of
ratings
course.
are more technical qualities than anything else, but all of them make the cut completely.
Fateful Findings is the best Neil Breen movie. Well, let me rephrase that. It's the most entertaining Neil Breen movie.
Yes. Yeah. There's a difference there.
I mean, technically, it'd also be the best, but I don't want to make any sort of statements on that. It feels like a waste of time. Dangerous Man is wild, and it's very memorable, and it feels very unique. Whereas, as much as Fateful Findings is the most entertaining Neil Breen, it is still Neil Breen. There's like lots of other movies with a similar flavor you can enjoy from Neil Breen. I don't know if that means it matters in any way, but just my brain's going through the possible reasons to ding one or the other.
No, I'm willing to take, like, you could just tell me, like, oh, hey, remember that one shot when it was crap? Like, I would be fine. Yeah, sure, give it to me, because I need anything to differentiate here. It is a point that you said at the beginning, I think it was for I Am Here Now, that a lot of these Neil Breen films do kind of blend together. A lot of them are kind of just, you take Neil Breen on the whole rather than any one individual movie. Yeah,
like, as much as there might be one you recommend first, there's no one Neil Breen movie that's the movie. You recommend Neil Breen as a collection, as like, hey, no, this guy churns these things out. They are consistently of a level of so bad they're funny kind of thing. There's no like one crown jewel, as it were, that sticks out. Dangerous Men is kind of one of a kind, is what it is, and that's maybe a fair argument to make. But also, you could argue that Neil Breen deserves to be in the final because he kind of is the auteur of bad movies for the present day.
I mean, to an extent, yes, but I do think that's going into that same vein of looking at the bracket as a whole rather than the immediate matchup.
Sure. I think there's also an argument to be made here. The Dangerous Men, because it was shot in a very different time, it does look better. It looks like a movie. Despite all the other faults it has, it still looks like a movie. Whereas Neil Breen's like using whatever digital camera he's got his hands on, and it's not that it's poor quality. Well, to be honest, like any version you find online is pretty poor quality, to be fair. But like, you know, it's got that kind of like clean digital look to it. It doesn't feel very cinematic in that sense. Yeah. So if
but
that's
like, it's weird because for Dangerous Men, it's not even that it looks better is really a determining factor for me. If anything, the fact that it's shot on film makes the haphazard nature of the plot and how insane it gets more concerning, more disjointed, where I'm like, you had to pay for film stock and yet you didn't plan out anything here. You didn't have anything figured out as to what you were going to do, like top to bottom. It's kind of adding on to it, not by virtue of it looking good, but by virtue of it looks good, but it's still so bad.
Yeah, it was almost more impressive because the barrier to entry to make a movie in that time period was higher. Like you had to spend more money on just the basic essentials to even like get started. Whereas Neil Breen, didn't start until like 2010 or something like that. Like he's coming into the digital age where he can. I mean, he doesn't edit well, but he does just throw things together on like Windows Movie Maker or whatever he's using.
Yeah. It was 2005, by the way, was Double Down.
But was that was that early? But still, I mean, it's still in the era where you can edit stuff at home and so on and so on.
I mean, that was literally the next year was YouTube. Like, that was absolutely where people started like, oh yeah, I can make movies now.
No, it's the same year, 2005's YouTube.
Oh, I thought it was 06. My bad.
No, but not only do I remember, but they're literally celebrating the 20th anniversary this year.
Fair enough. I clicked on a video today. I can't even remember what it was, but it said 18 years ago posted, and I was like, no, stop. I don't want to feel that.
Yeah, that is strange. It's also strange to remember a time when you could only have a 10 minutes or less video. Wildly different times.
Yeah. Before they got that sweet, sweet Google storage.
Where are you leaning here? Where are you leaning between these two?
I think I'm leaning more towards Dangerous Men. I think that, Breen, he made his push. He has been around in this bracket. He's beat out plenty of difficult to overcome movies, but when it gets to this point, I think that there is kind of something to say where Neil Breen, if you were to say his entire oeuvre, his entire cinematography,
Yes,
as a representation here, yeah, I think it could make it to the finals, if not win the whole thing, because it is that quintessentially bad. But any one given one, separated from the rest of the pack, kind of doesn't get to that point. Where Dangerous Men, like you said, is a one-of-a-kind thing, and it feels like it should get there.
it's kind of like Friday the 13th. And what I mean by that is Friday the 13th is like one of the big horror franchises. Horror fans are very fond of it. But there's no one Friday the 13th film that stands up there remotely close to a Halloween or a Nightmare on Elm Street or a Shining or whatever. Like, none of them are even in the same stratosphere as those. But you take Friday the 13th as a whole, you take Jason Voorhees as one of the slasher characters, and he's one of the titans. But you can't really suggest that Friday the 13th, 4, 6, whatever your favorite one is in any way near shape or close to any of the bigs, the big single like great horror films. And that's kind of how we're talking about Neil Breen here. So I'm willing to accept Dangerous Men is taking it. And I think it's funny that Neil Breen had 4 films in round 1, 3 films in round 2, 2 films in round 3, and his final film goes out in round 4, which is the semis. Yeah. So
I'm just happy we didn't have to put any Neil Breen movies against each other, because I don't think that would be an easy task.
Hey, it almost happened. Like we
it almost did. Yeah.
I mean, you were arguing for one or at some point, and I was thinking, oh, that may be Neil Breen versus Neil Breen if you get your way.
Yeah.
So I talked you out of it. So all right, Dangerous Men goes through to the finals. The other semi-final round or match is Gone with the Pope versus Mac and Me. It's Ronald McDonald versus the Pope.
The Pope. God. I would have had an easy winner to that if this were 2 months ago and we had the other Pope, but now I don't know this one. This fight could be anybody.
No, surely you have to go with the Pope that was around in 1974.
Yeah, who was that? Benedict? No.
Oh, I don't know.
Before. I don't know. Yeah.
I can't even name you who the Pope was that just died. Never mind what Pope was around the 70s.
That was Francis. I got that one, but I'm not Catholic, so I don't know. He was the big one, though. Everyone liked him.
Yeah.
Pope in the 70s. Paul. Pope Paul.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So, this is tough though, because Gone with the Pope shares a lot of things with Dangerous Men. They're very different plots, don't get me wrong, but it shares some of that oddity and like obviously the fact that it was found later, the fact that it looks oddly good because it's shot in film, but it's all these plot points. I would argue Dangerous Men's more consistently what the hell, whereas Gone with the Pope's a bit more of a slow burn. But it's up against Mac and Me, which is the ultimate studio bad movie of like all the product placement. It's basically McDonald's went to a studio and said, hey, we want an ET where McDonald's is like a pivotal part of the plot.
Yeah.
Also Coca-Cola and Reese's Pieces is ET. What did they have instead?
Yeah. Oh god, what did they have?
Skittles. I think it was Skittles they had.
Was it? Yeah, that makes sense. It's not M&M's. They couldn't get the M&M's license for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, if we're just talking about this, just putting it out on the line, I made my argument last time that I think Gone with the Pope is a very slow burn to start, but ultimately gets to the point where it is kind of this out there crazy, you don't know what they're going to do next kind of movie. Mac and Me is a constant from the word go, the very beginning of the movie. It's weird. Not to the extent that you don't know where it's going to go. It does kind of follow a typical formula that you would expect an E.T. movie to go through, but it throws so many strange curveballs. Like, again, a dance scene at the McDonald's, or a kid in a wheelchair just going over the edge of a cliff for, like, no reason. A bunch of this, the one line that you love so much in that review, where it's like, something Big Mac. I can't even remember what it was.
Oh,
The kid said it.
yes, the little sister says to the big sister, "Oh, go order a Big Mac or something like that." Because
Yeah,
she's
something like that.
She's not even flirting really. She's just getting on with the older brother and like yeah.
It plays it so weird throughout that while it may not get to the highs that Gone with the Pope gets to, I think that not having that slow burn at the start pushes it slightly over the line. I think that Mac and Me does just have that little bit extra of it keeps it weird throughout, right up to the end where it's like, we're going to do a sequel. And then, of course, a sequel never actually happens. And it's just this strange little tack on right at the end.
Hey, they're all wearing suits at the end. That's right. Oh, jeez.
They get citizenized. They get brought into the country as actual people with their butthole mouths.
This one's tough. Because they're so different, and it's hard to kind of parse them. But I will agree with Mac and Me, inching it out. Just inching it out for all the crazy stuff with the wheelchair chase, the McDonald's stuff. Just, it's an example of a very different type of bad movie, and I think that variety is also good in terms of going into this final. So Mac and Me advances to the finals.
All right.
Meaning, if I go to the bracket now for the video folk, just so they can see here, the final of the entire thing is Dangerous Men versus Mac and Me.
You want to start us off here, Pete? You want to guide the conversation?
I there's a lot of pressure now.
Yeah.
On this final matchup.
I want everyone to pause real quick. Go ahead and comment exactly which one you would do before and we say anything, before we say which way we're leaning. Which one would take the win for you here?
Yeah, this is tough. In my heart of hearts, I'm glad they're both here. I'm glad they're so different. And they represent very different types of bad movie. But I think ultimately, the one that feels like it's crazier and has the wow factor of anything can happen because it's that unpredictable, because the people making this might do something illegal. Like, we might see a real person get killed because it's that type of movie where part of it might be a secret snuff film. That type of just uncertainty just gives an edge to Dangerous Men, and I think that wins out over the wild and ridiculous, but still very much a studio movie with rules.
Right.
Dangerous Men is the Wild West of the movie-making world.
I said at the beginning, when we were talking about Christian Mingle versus Deadly Prey, that the kind of difference between those two as to whether or not you specifically are going to like this type of bad movie is really kind of down to a matter of taste. There are going to be people who, they hear about The Room, they hear about Mac and Me, and they're kind of in that level of bad movies. Dangerous Men does feel like it's a different category. It feels like it is doing something entirely separate from that type of bad movie, but it does feel like a step beyond. It does feel like this is not just The Room, but something more. Not just Mac and Me, but something more. So I think I'm going to agree with you, but I do want to really make it clear, though, of just like Mac and Me is... Dangerous Men was not something that stayed burned into my head, but I think that's not because it's not a good bad movie. I think it's specifically because of how crazy it got, where how do you store something like that as a memory? Mac and Me, you can start with the aliens crash land, or they land on this planet because the rover or whatever sucked them up in the vacuum tube. Like, you can start there and you can keep going because the plot beats, for the most part, make sense as you go from one to the next. Dangerous Men, even if you keep the initial context of the movie in your head, there is nothing to lead you into the next plot point. There is nothing to tell you what's happening in the rest of the story. So I don't think it's a failing of the movie that I'm unable to remember it. I think it's by design. I think it's impossible for man to remember everything in that movie without either watching it a few times or some serious prompting.
Yep. So I think we're announcing Dangerous Men wins the tournament, and it is the crown jewel of Extra Reels Phase 1.
Oh boy, Phase 1. It took us 3 years to get done Phase 1.
Yeah. So in another 32 episodes time, we'll come back and do a second tournament and see who wins Phase 2. And then the winners of Phase 1 and 2 can face each other.
No, we gotta wait until there's 32 phases.
Right, okay. Right. Yeah. And put in the 32 winners, alright. I don't know if there's enough months left in our lifetimes to actually get that far, but I like the idea.
Well, 32 times 32 divided by 12. I think we'd be like 127, give or take.
Yeah, maybe that's a wee bit too long.
Whatever.
In the tooth. So yeah, that's the winner. I mean, I'm looking back at the first round just now, and I'm just sort of like scanning for the ones that I think like should have went further, but just didn't because they got a seed against something else that was already always going to go far. I think Madam Web could have went a bit further had it not went up against what ultimately won. I think looking down the list here,
Last Vampire on Earth.
Last Vampire on Earth is the other big one. I think those are the two. Those are the two that stick out to me. Is they should have went further, but they just they went up against something too big in the first round.
I'd make the argument for I Am Here Now, but again, it's going to fall into that same sort of Breen.
I don't disagree, but I it's like because it's just another Breen movie. I don't feel like he got well represented. He's fine. Like he got his flowers, but I think those two feel like they could have went a bit further. But just because they went up against juggernauts to begin with, there was just no chance.
You know, I do want to ask you something, though.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of a weird thing, just based off of other things we've talked about here. So, we said that Noobs, compared to Postal is worse, correct?
Yes.
Solar Crisis lost to Postal. Do you think Solar Crisis is worse than Noobs?
It's not worse than Noobs, but it's less interesting than Noobs.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking we had like a rock, paper, scissors situation here where one beats the other, but it comes down to the definition of worse and entertaining.
Well, here, just as a bonus question here then, I posited when we were going through the first round that Paradise Motel might be the worst movie we've done on the show. Is there anything else that you think is worse than Paradise Motel?
Again, worse being a very subjective term there.
Because you could say Postal, and I would understand why you'd say Postal. I think Paradise Motel is actually more painful to sit through, as shocking as that sounds. But, I mean...
I'm going to put out there just personally, maybe people would disagree with this, a talking cat. Because at the very least, a Paradise Motel did kind of have that factor of it was crap, it was garbage, and by the end of it, you realize that there was never going to be anything in it. But during the watch through, you do kind of have that, we've been driving in this car for 30 minutes. I genuinely don't know what this movie is going to be by the end of it. Like, it had that little bit of confusion, whereas Talking Cat, it's essentially a kid's movie that's just horrible at being a kid's movie, and I don't think there was any level of doubt that you were going to not get anything from that at the beginning.
I can see the argument. I don't know if it was more torture, though, than Paradise Motel. But, I mean...
That's fair.
That's something for everyone to decide in their own hearts. I just wanted to pose the question. So, yes, the winner is Dangerous Men, and it beat out a whole treasure trove of bad movies. And if you want to see or listen to all of the reviews of every single one of those, you can do it over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or by becoming a member at the $5 or up tier on YouTube memberships. And you get access to extra reels, and there's more coming. In fact, we have 2 episodes coming in August. We have the regular Patreon episode, which is going to be Joker 2, or Folie de Feu?
Folie... Oh, God, now you've got it wrong in my head. Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux, okay. Which was a pick by someone who won the right to pick one of the episodes. And then there was also an unlocked extra reels for August, which is going to be a movie that I heard of some time ago, called Get Even, or it's actually written as one word, so it's Get Even. And that is going to be a public episode, which everyone can enjoy. But those are both coming throughout the month of August. So look forward to those. And there's an extra reels every month on Patreon and YouTube member videos.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I'm
And of
so
course,
happy. I remember when you first threw this, like, oh, hey, we need to add some extra shows to the Patreon. Let's do one where we do good shows, and then one where we do bad shows. And then the bad one is stuck around.
yeah. And of course, accessing the bad movie show extra reels gives, it's supporting all the content. It's helping Collector's Cut and Ace keep coming, Streams After Midnight. All the shows are helped out, and you get this silly show. And a lot of the movies we do on it tend to be available either on YouTube or Internet Archive. Occasionally there may be one that's a bit tougher to get to, or if it's something like Madame Web, you have to go out your way to, rent it, or, well, it's probably on, well, would it be on Disney Plus? Maybe not, because it's a Sony movie, but regardless.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's streaming somewhere for sure.
It'll pop up somewhere. But yeah, here's to another 32 episodes of extra reels, and we'll do another tournament in about 2.5 years once we hit that number again.
Once we hit 64, good God.
Yeah, when we get to number 64. So yeah, but hey, if every so often we do an extra one for public, then that speeds it up a little bit. So there you go.
Doesn't mean I don't have to still watch an extra 32 movies. Like, that's still the same number.
So thank you for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed this new thing. If you enjoyed this tournament format, I do like the idea of doing it for some different contexts and different movie sets. So let me know in the comments. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon for all the regular content. Also worth mentioning before we wrap up here, this is out on the Saturday where Collector's Cut usually goes. This is actually the last week where there won't be a single Ace and a single Collector's Cut every week. Starting next week, every single week we'll have an Ace, every single week we'll have a Collector's Cut. They might be swap days every once in a while. If there's a new release out for Collector's Cut to do, we'll push that to the Tuesday and put Ace on the Saturday. But there'll be one every week of both shows, and that is kind of that's why the Criterion show has come to an end, is we wanted to prioritize making both shows be there every week. So yeah, look forward to that. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully you had fun with this. We'll see you soon. I can't say my usual outro on YouTube because it involves swearing, but F my life.